that one of those developments is on the peaceful protest that's been happening, all around #end bad governance. Now, as we know, the peaceful protest is a fundamental right, but it is essential to ensure these demonstrations remain emphasis on remain non-violent for the safety and the well-being of everyone involved. If you've also followed part of the news this morning from the network, you get to hear scores and numbers of people we've lost in the process of that. Now, today on our discussion segment, we want to look at a crucial topic, which is peaceful protest and violence prevention in Nigeria. Now, with what we have at hand, how do we begin to make sure that it remain non-violent and that participators stay vigilant while also making sure that there's violence prevention in all of those? To help us understand this, currently we have the Trade Union Congress Chairman, TUC Enugu State Council, Comrade Ben Asogwa. Always a pleasure to have you join us. Good morning to you.
Good morning. It's actually my pleasure to be here with you. Good morning.
Good morning. And also part of that is that we're streaming live. So this is the very first interactive. We are having interactive and breakfast show actually on our streaming service. So good to have you on board today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. So with everything happening, and in my introduction, I made mention and emphasis on remain non-violent. Why do you think it is so important that for protests to remain peaceful, especially with everything happening all around us?
All right. In the first place, we have to ask this question: why do people protest? Why do they agitate, particularly in a country like this? Protests, you see, is always an outcome of some issues untackled. Before people take to the level of coming out to protest publicly, there must have been so many issues that were not addressed. And when we now talk about protests and it being peaceful, it has to do with being able to handle the participants in every protest to ensure that we do it within the ambit of the law. Because one, it is every right we have has responsibilities attached to it. For instance, is maybe your right to freedom of expression, for instance, but that doesn't mean that you use that right of freedom of expression to defame somebody's character or carry fake information about some individuals or elements. That is one. Number two, we have rights to protest, but it is also not right for us to infringe on other people's rights. For instance, like destroying public or private properties of people. That is why it's necessary that when we talk about protest, we say it should be peaceful. It should be within the ambits of the law. But one thing that happens in most cases is that the government or the key players in the system will always neglect issues until they get to the neck. And you know that there is this saying that a hungry man is an angry man. So when people protest and their protest is geared towards even certain things that make them hungry, you find out that it becomes more difficult to control them. And I can tell you for sure that if there are issues and the people can see measures towards addressing the issues, measurable measures, the measures that are directly tackling their needs, even if they are suffering, they may not go out there to protest. Protests will always come when they feel they have issues and the issues are not even being tackled the right way, or when they feel that certain policies are working against them. So, and if it happens, you find out that when people come out to protest, why it's always difficult to have, especially when it's being organized by multiple faces. For instance, if it's a particular organ, look at it this way: if organized labor is staging protests, we know ourselves. We have a way of issuing commands. For instance, if we're doing protests in anywhere here, and I'm the frontline labor leader, as I am, if I stand and say stop, everybody will stop. If I say we're taking this direction, everybody will take that direction. They have that command. But in some cases, when it gets to this level of protest, where the masses have become so agitated that we don't even know the limit of those who are coming out, it becomes difficult for you to say it must be absolutely peaceful. So that is one problem with that. And at a point, even the organizers may not have boundaries to level of participation or who participates and who does not participate. So it is true that the law has an attachment to it that it must be peaceful. But it is the duty of the law enforcement agents to ensure that it's peaceful, not by compulsion.
Okay, quick one. Would you say part of that ensuring that it is peaceful was why the NLC headquarters was raided by security operatives and carted away some documents? Would you put that under
You see,
ensuring?
that is why sometimes I begin to wonder if those people that are on the table of leadership think that they are leading animals. You know, it's only animals that you use stick on and they will obey you. For human beings, there is a limit to which you can go with stick. At a point, they will develop resistance and begin to say no. So, if we are uncomfortable with the level of anti-people policies and actions of government, and we are still going ahead to invade an organization like NLC, that is pitiable. That is unimaginable for a country like this where there is ongoing protest, where people are agitating against government for certain actions and inactions. And the much you can do. The problem you now have as security agents, have they invaded Sambisa Forest? Don't they know where the issues we have in Nigeria lie? Why haven't they invaded dangerous areas in Nigeria? If you're a military authority and you think you have powers, invade the dangerous areas where miscreants and thieves, kidnappers and co are hiding. You will stay away from those places and begin to invade civilians' homes and offices. That is pitiable. That is unimaginable. So the invading of NSC Secretariat is one of the evidences that they have not even repented. Because it's not a matter of saying we're addressing the nation. When you address the nation, let me tell you, people do not just look at what you say, they also watch your actions. If you are telling them to calm down and you're acting in the opposite, they won't calm down. So if you look at what happened in NLC Secretariat where they went there, the first question one should ask is that where the problem of this country lies? Is that the right step to take to address the issues? You can even see that what the military, the police, what they are now busy talking about is a foreign flag. I'm not trying to justify foreign flag, but is it the issue? They have left the active ingredients of our problems, and they're now facing the destructive elements. Why one may not say that it is right for you to display foreign flags during such sensitive protests? It shouldn't be. They shouldn't be diversionary in their actions. The government should face the issue squarely. You can do investigations to know what led to the issue of carrying foreign flags, but that shouldn't be where your focus goes. If you look at what the president said last time he addressed the country, it was just the usual. People did not see any element of difference from what he started saying from the time he ascended the hallowed seat of the president of the country. So when you look at that, it is unimaginable that people who have risen to that extent could behave this way, especially when we know that the sitting president and even the political party in power, came as a result of people's discomfort with the previous authorities. So they should have learned from the past that since even the president himself was part of our agitation against good luck Jonathan, he was part of it. So if protest is a sin, if protest is an evil, he would have committed it many times.
Would that also like be a case where we've seen instances where protests turned violent, and then would it be that the presidency or the president's administration are, because that was peaceful. The people would argue that was peaceful. This had a lot of violent tendencies and breakouts and death. And what could have triggered that, and if there was something that could have done to mitigate all of that.
In the first place, like I said earlier, it was neglect and wrong policies that led to the protests. Now that the protest has started, the approach matters a lot. You know that the system is already fragile. You don't go there. Is this saying that you don't use fuel to quench fire. Using force in such a scenario is like trying to use fuel, petroleum, to quench fire. That is unwise. The approach, the first thing is that, like I told you earlier, in this kind of protest, one thing that makes it very, very delicate is that it doesn't have landmark. For instance, if you may have seen some videos where even underage people were participating. Ordinarily, if it were in a system where things were marked out well, you don't see such level of children coming out. But that tells you that everybody is angry and people can do anything. Therefore, the security agencies should have taken precautions from the first day, not to provoke the youths in particular. If you look at the protests, 80-90% of the protesters fall within the range of youthful age. And such um, um, level of people can easily go gag in terms of reactions. They are reactionary. So whatever you do, they will react to it. That's one thing that youths are known for. They are full of energy, looking for where to deposit it. So you don't irritate the system. What government should have done in the first place is to use you don't use carrot and stick in this kind of, you use carrot or two, except when people begin to go unlawful. Because one, the feelers we are getting is that even when where people, the whole thing started becoming violent, it was as a result of some kind of forceful approach. For instance, you say, don't go there. But what you need is to accompany them, follow them. Even the law enforcement agents would have said, ordinarily, we are together with you. Like, there is a state where the police commissioner provided even water and co for the protesters. And they didn't jump at him, they didn't throw stones at him. So it all depends on the way government is going about it. For instance, this one they went to invade NLC Secretariat. Mind you that organized labor is not part of this protest officially. If any labor leader is participating, the person would have been participating as an individual and not as labor movement. Both Trade Union Congress and Nigeria Labour Congress, they are not as if we are not in support, not as if we don't know that Nigeria is really in a bad shape, but because one, there are certain things we don't do. One, we don't go into a system we cannot control. We must have control over certain things before we do it. The reason being that we are that is why we are called organized labor. So we have our own framework and pattern of action. We are guided by the law, labor laws and code. So before we come out to do anything, you don't just say you are doing a protest and we'll come and join you. We must know the level of it, those who are involved, and how it's going to be done, not just to come and join what we didn't understand. So, but leaving that apart, I believe that government should have also started tackling, for instance, one of the issues is fuel subsidy. Another thing is electricity tariff hike. If the president had come out to say, please stop the protests, we've removed subsidy, but look at the situation on ground. We may not be able to bring it back, but look at the measures we're going to take. For electricity tariff hike, we are returning back to status quo. People would have anchored on that singular action. Just the singular action of saying, let's reverse electricity tariff increase. At least you go to that lesser burden. Because it's a lesser burden to pay electricity tariff than to pay fuel subsidy. If you say you've removed fuel subsidy, and you also said you removed electricity tariff a subsidy for band A people, you return it back to status quo, and that would have even made the protesters to feel that government is now ready for action. It's not even a matter of holding meetings 100 times. But what people now need now is action. By the way, the president has addressed this nation a couple of times, and at no point did his address mutate into action that will solve the problem we are facing. So I believe that one of those things they should have done to even prevent the protest is to take actions that would have directly addressed the issues of hardship in the country. Okay, the president said he has given governors a lot of money. He mentioned it. The governors are also culpable. The problem we have now is that in most cases we are just facing the presidency, not knowing that it's a cartel of bad leadership. It's a cartel of bad leadership that trickles down even to local government level.
All right, thanks so much, Comrade. Ooh, like individuals are agitated by, the bad governance, the hunger, and everything. How do we make sure people continually, stay safe as we step up?
All right, you know that there is this saying that security is everybody's affair. So even the way the civilians, or let me say the way the uniformed people refer to us, the bloody civilians, will have a role to play, particularly in this period of protest. One, we must see ourselves as being together, because a situation where you go out there to protest and begin to loot shops, you are also inflicting more injury on the masses, on the public. I don't see the involvement of government or the level of punishment, any level of punishment on government, that you are looting somebody's shop or destroying the Tokumbo vehicle he maybe he collected loan to buy. No, maybe he may not even have paid off, and you are now rendering him poorer in the process of protesting against government. Does that actually do any help us in any way? So we must provide that safety by ourselves first before we now look at the law enforcement agencies. And for the law enforcement agencies, they should not do things that are too provocative. It's unnecessary. For instance, like in this eastern part of Nigeria, let me talk about Enugu, where I am, where I can at least give account of. We saw the presence of the military at different points. There is no problem with the presence of military if they are not harassing individuals. But one thing I don't feel comfortable with is the issue of mounting roadblocks and causing unnecessary traffic. They don't know that by doing that, you are even raising tension. You are creating the feeling in the minds of people that there is tension, there is problem somewhere. Even when the atmosphere is somehow peaceful, the presence of heavy traffic as a result of military roadblocks at different points in the metropolis is even creating more anxiety than necessary. So if the military can just be at different points, watch the movement of people, there's no problem with that. But blocking the roads and all that, how many people have they caught since they blocked roads? That is the question. So they should do things in such a civil way that will help us maintain this peace. Then for those places where the protest is ongoing, they should understand. And it's also necessary that when you go for training on how to handle guns, you should also go for training on how to handle people peacefully. That is why the police should be in the best position to do this, not even the military, because the military is trained to kill. But police is supposed to be the custodian of peaceful atmosphere, where even if there is violence, you should know the best strategy to use in bringing in peace. So even if those youths are becoming difficult, they should be better in a better position to calm them. They should know how to talk to them calmly. And government should not just be dwelling on some frivolities, like trying to heighten the tension by calling out some people and say threatening. You see, the more you threaten youths, the worse it becomes. If you understand well, especially for youths that are in their adult stage of life, some of them do not care. You know, for like even those that are calling for military rule, some those of us that did not witness a civil war, we think that war is a tea party affair. We may tell you, let there be war, we don't care. But those that, so for some people that witnessed it, they know the implication. So you may not blame us if we are just talking like, let the military come. Some of the youth or some of the people that are saying, let the military come, may not even have good understanding of the implication. They don't know that even the constitution we are putting cannot be effective if the military is there. That we are making reference to the constitution, that the constitution permits me to do this, the law of the land permits me to do it. It's because we are in the democratic system. If we're in the military system, they have their own ways of doing things. I may not say it's so bad, but it's not so wonderful for a system like this. So, whichever way, we must understand the advantages that democracy has over military rule. So, if you understand it, there is no need calling for military to take over. So, but I won't blame them much because like myself, that didn't witness civil war. You know that if you are talking about it, it may not make much sense to me. It may not. Some of us can only understand it when we watch movies where war zones and the level of destruction. So if we know all these things, we cannot be calling
So
for certain things. But we are all responsible for peaceful atmosphere in our environment. Both the law enforcement agents, the key players in the leadership, and the masses, especially the youths, because some of our elders may not have the energy to do what might be going on in their minds. Yeah, but for the youths, the point of thinking and acting, they are so close, such that as they are thinking, they are acting. They may not waste much time. If he's thinking of maybe breaking somebody's head, you may see his hand, but taking action. Unlike an elder who will sit down and think about it and also think about the implication.
So, how do we, for parents now and guardians, how do we ensure that people are around us? Because in your submission, you made mention of the targets or the sort of major bulk are people within younger age of life and all. How do we make sure? Because in all and all, it's supposed to be a non-violent
Yes,
movement or non-violent affair, but it seemed to have some pockets of violence here and there.
yes.
So how do we begin to make sure that if you're going to go, this is what you're going to do, tips and all of that?
All right, it's necessary that parents also talk to their words. It's necessary. But I must tell you that our problem is hydra headed. You know, in a country where we have this level of unemployment, when you say they should be peaceful, let me tell you, for a young man that graduated 10 years ago and has looked for job everywhere, even with his intelligence, even with his first class or second class upper, even with all the sleepless nights, and he cannot afford his daily meal. He's completely jobless. The most he can do is to ride keke, and then for the female ones to do POS business. They are already disappointed in the country. They already feel like the country is a bunch of disappointment. So when we talk about patriotism, when we say that people should be patriotic, they must see what will make them patriotic. They must see something that the country has to offer to them. But the youth of this country today, they seem not to have seen anything encouraging anymore. Because we said education is the bane of life. They went to school, spent their time in school, acquired certificates, but no job. So when we talk about certain things, we must know that the system will have hydra-headed issues. However, we must talk to the youth on the need for peaceful actions and also on the need for them to know, because sometimes we keep quoting people's rights without mentioning the responsibilities that follow. We must understand this, that in every right instituted in the constitution, there are certain limits and there are some responsibilities. For instance, it's your right to protest, and it says provided it's peaceful. Can you see it? It's you have freedom of speech, but you don't carry false information or defame people. You see, there are certain things you must know, and as you exercise your rights, do not inflict injury on some other person's rights, because the rights of individuals they must be handled and seen holistically. You don't just see it from your own perspective. So in that case, it will help us to know that now I have the right to protest, but if I go out there and leave the protest and do some other thing like looting or obstructing some other people's movement, then I would have sold out that right. I would have lost that right. So when you understand that, it will help you to act within the ambits of the law. But when you look at, if you've watched the videos of some protests, even that some of those young boys, a good number of them are not even educated. That is one funny thing. So they don't even know what you're talking about. What they all they know is that there is hunger. So for government to also quell the situation, they must be more proactive. They must do something that is result oriented. Not I understand that the president keeps telling us. If he understands, we need action. If he understands our plight, we need action at this time. And if there are positive actions, I believe it will be the best way to institute peace.
All right, thank you so much, Comrade Ben Asogwa, Chairman, Trade Union Congress, TUC, Enugu State Council, for joining us this morning on
Thank
the
you.
Breakfast Show. All right, it's been a wonderful time out having you and explaining the topic. We'll keep it's a developing story, so it's something we'll keep expanding on and speak on as we progress. Now, remember, you get to join the conversations online. Follow up on socials at facebook.com/Coasty99FM, Instagram and Twitter, all at Coasty99FM. And you also get to join the conversation when you log on to www.radionigerian.gov.ng and scroll down, you're going to see a button that says click to listen. You get to listen to us live and follow the streaming service right here on our service. And thanks to everyone that contributed to make today's show a success. The producer has been Jude Obu, and ICT team led by Adeze Nwokoro. Supervisor has been Joy Obitulata GM, Coast 99 FM, and the producer has been Ikechukwu as the Zone Director, FRCN Enugu. My name is Ekene Odigwe. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a good morning, everyone. Stay safe.